Hey, what is going on, guys? I'm Brian and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about what I would put into a system for $1,400-ish if I was getting the RX 6800 graphics card, the big Navi, one of the big Navi chips from the recent launch from last Wednesday. So this is what I would put together if I was going to build an RX 6800 All-AMD system. So starting off, we're going to have the RX 6800 like I just mentioned. This is supposed to be about 18% faster than the 2080 Ti with smart access memory. It's going for about $580. Well, we'll be going for about $580 at launch, but you're probably going to get it for around $600 to $650 is what I would guess. Again, like I always say, make sure you wait for independent reviews. What we have right now is all AMD specific reviews. This is from AMD. The reviews and the benchmarks are from AMD, so make sure you watch for independent reviews. I'm not saying don't go out and buy the graphics card day one. That's fine. Get the graphics card and maybe wait onto it to install it into your system or whatever, and then wait for reviews, watch the reviews, and then if you like the results, go ahead and use it. If you don't like the results, most places let you return it, so then you would go ahead and return it. If you can't find a place that will let you return it if you don't open the box, in that case, you probably just want to wait until you watch more reviews and find out exactly what model you want to get, because you want to get a model that's nice value-wise, it's good price to performance, not too loud or too hot, and it'll fit your system and all that kind of good stuff. So again, wait for independent reviews. For the CPU, we put the Ryzen 5 5600X. It's a 6-core, 12-thread processor. It's 3.7 base, and then it's 4.6 boost, and then it's supposed to be about 26% faster than its predecessor, so the 3600X. And also, single-core performance is supposed to be better than the i9-10900K. Now, again, like I was just saying, these are pre-independent reviewer data, so this is AMD data, so we don't know exactly how accurate this is, and we'll find out once people get their hands on them. They start reviewing the chips come this Thursday is when the launch date is, so you should have an idea of then. Should be a super fast CPU. And again, it will also give you access to smart access memory, which you need to have a RX 6000 series card, a Ryzen 5000 series CPU, and then you also need a B550 or an X570 series motherboard. So you need all three of those to use smart access memory. So this chip will allow you to have that. My final note on the CPU is this. There's rumors that the R5, so the Ryzen 5 5600 will be released at some point, and it's supposed to be about $220. The 5600X is supposed to be $300 at launch, so that's a big $80 difference. And I would say if they do release a 5600 and you're watching this video in the future, 5600 is probably, I can't guarantee it because again, I don't know the specs, I haven't seen it, I haven't tested it, none of that, I haven't watched reviews or anything like that, but the 5600 will probably be the better value chip, providing it comes in at around $220. So that's probably what I would get if this is like in the future and they released a 5600 on top of having, again, the 5600X. So that's my final note for the CPU. For the cooler, I went ahead and I put the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Black Edition. It does a great job with the 3600. I would imagine it's going to be perfectly fine with the 5600X or the 5600. It should be perfectly fine. All those chips are using the same 65-watt TDP, so this CPU cooler should be perfectly fine for that. If you want to overclock, you're probably going to want to get a better CPU cooler because this one won't really do much justice in that aspect. It should be okay, but it won't do like as good as you would probably want. But a good alternative is also the Arctic Freezer 34 Esports. The Duo is fine, but I prefer the non-Duo because it's a little bit cheaper, or at least it typically is, and it's not much less performance. I then went ahead and I put the MSI B550M Pro-VDH motherboard into this system. It's goes for about $100 to $110. It's a B550 board, which we need for the smart access memory, and it's a pretty good quality board, especially for like something like the 3600 or the 5600 or the 5600X. It's going to be perfectly fine for those chips. It also has Wi-Fi on board, which is great because that's just going to add a thing. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be using it or not, but it's always nice to have that option if you need it for whatever reason. Now, if you don't want to go with that kind of board, I would recommend staying between the $115 to $150 range. But remember, get a B550 or an X570 board. Other good quality boards that you could pick up, I really like the Asus Prime X570-P motherboard. It's about $150. It's an X570 board. It's a great VRM. It performs really well. And again, it's really cheap for an X570 board. We have the Asus B550M Tough is a great motherboard. You have the MSI B550M Mortar is great for this build. The B550M Steel Legend from ASRock. There's a ton of great boards. You can get the X570 Tough Wi-Fi board. That's a great one. I mean, there's a lot of different options, but I would stick around the $115 to $150, maybe to $200 range for your motherboard, and make sure it's a 500 series motherboard, as I've explained like 3 times already in this video. As for memory, I went with a basic 16 gigabyte kit of Team Group memory. Basically, just make sure it has a 3200 megahertz speed and cast latency 16 or better. It has good reviews. And again, if you want RGB, you can go ahead and pick out RGB, but it's not absolutely necessary for a build, so that's going to be really up to you if you want to spend the extra money on that. Memory is really cheap nowadays, so you should be able to get a 16 gig kit for like $50 to $70, even if you want RGB on there. There should be a kit for you in there. Again, 3200, cast latency 16 for your kit. As for storage, I went with my same split that I always do, which is an M.2 drive or an SSD, and then a 2 terabyte hard drive. So for the M.2 drive, I picked out the Silicon Power A80. This was actually another thing that was recommended from you guys. It's a little bit cheaper than the inland one that I typically put in my builds, and their performance should be just about the same. So I figured, you know, saving you some money, performance should be about the same, might as well use that. But anyways, it was the Silicon Power A80, which is a great M.2 drive, fast speeds, he has DRAM, all that good stuff. And then I also put a 2 terabyte Seagate hard drive in here for your games or whatever else you want, photos, documents, whatever else you want to put in your system. That'll be perfect for that. Again, it's the same SSD slash hard drive I always recommend, like the split I always recommend, because again, you get a ton of storage and you can also have super fast boot times with your M.2 drive. As for case, I put the Phanteks P300A again in this build. I just find it super value oriented. You can get it for like 50 bucks and it comes with so many great features into it. So easy to build in, and it can fit like everything that you could absolutely want for it. So that's why I always recommend it. If you don't want the P300A, it's not your design, not your style, check out the P400As also. It's a little bit bigger. P500A is great too. Again, both from Phanteks. The Fractal Design Mesh 5C is great. Dark Flash GLM21 mesh. If you get that case, it doesn't have fans, so you'll have to buy fans. And it also is an MATX case. So you'll have to make sure you get an MATX motherboard. And then also another good option would be like the Dark Flash GLX21, which is that case right there. So that's the case that I have mine in. I'm gonna be doing a review on it here shortly. That one also doesn't have fans, so make sure you get some fans if you're gonna be buying one of the Dark Flash cases. I don't know why they don't come with fans, but they don't come with fans. Looking at the power supply, you always want to make sure you have a good quality power supply in general, but especially when you're using a high-end build. I would consider this kind of like a mid to high-end build. When you put something like the 6800 into the system, it's a pretty high-powered graphics card, so make sure you're getting a nice quality power supply. I'm going to leave the power supply tier list down below. Make sure you're getting a tier B or a tier A. The better you can get, the longer this power supply is going to last you, and the better it's going to be for your system. Power supplies typically last more than one build. I have had mine for I don't even know how long, but it's lasted me a long time. It's going to last me many builds to come. And if you get a good quality one now, you're not going to have to worry about it shorting and blowing up your system or anything like that. And it's going to last you, like I said, it's going to last you multiple builds, which is great. For this build, I put the EVGA B5 650 watt modular power supply in this system. Again, it's a good power supply, and you'll have no problems using it for this build as well as builds you might do in the future. And the last thing I want to mention are fans. Get yourself a pack of extra fans, because the actual price on the parts list is going to be around $1,350. Actually, let me check what it comes out to be. It comes out to be $1,361.21 is the entire build that I just listed to you guys. So you can go ahead and you can afford that extra pack of fans, whichever ones you like, whatever design. There's tons out there. Just go on Amazon, type in RGB fans if you're into RGB. If you want non-RGB fans, the Arctic P12s are my favorite ones on the market. They're really cheap and they're super quiet and they do a great job moving air. So if you want non-RGB, that's what I would recommend. If you want RGB, there's a ton of good ones. Asia Horse, I hear, makes some really good RGB fans. The DR12s, those are fans that are actually in this case, so you can see the RGB like swinging around and stuff. They're good. I like them. Those are the Dark Flash DR12s. The only issue I don't like about them is that you can't control them with your motherboard. You have to control them with like a little remote that comes with it, which really, in my opinion, kind of stinks because I like to set everything up, you know, via my fan curves in my BIOS, and then everything can, you know, speed up and slow down as needed. But these fans, you have to use like a remote. I always keep them on the lowest setting because there's like so many of them in my system. So generally speaking, since I built this and I upgraded my system, I haven't had any issues. But again, it was kind of a bummer that you can't connect it to your motherboard. And so if I was going to build a PC, an all-AMD based PC with the RX 6800 in mind, this is the system that I would put together. It's definitely not the cheapest system out there, but I think it has a lot of good quality components in here that are going to last you a very long time. Let me know down below what you guys would do differently, if you guys would do anything differently, or maybe just let me know if you guys would do the exact same thing that I did. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you loved it, subscribe for more tech content just like this, and don't forget to drop me any questions also down in the comments below or in our community Discord page, which is completely free, and there's a link in the description box below. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.